on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's been a few weeks, been on a bit of a hiatus, been doing a lot of testing, doing a lot of research, been reaching out to different places and different companies to see what we can do, and basically it's very few and far between, only because I give you guys what you want to see, which is the raw truth of whether things are good, bad, the ugly and the not so pretty, whether it's worth your money, your time, your effort. So stay tuned. We're going to dive into the K1C. It's a little bit different, more than different, because I do things a lot different than everyone else, and that's why you're here. Let's dive into it. Guys, here we are with the K1C. Been out for a little bit now. Got released in late January, early February. Initially, I was offered by Creality to basically purchase one at a discount. Now, I already have the K1 Max and I had the K1 Speedy. Now, I was going to initially purchase the K1C, but to be perfectly honest, I couldn't justify the initial outlay of the costs, being a new channel. But the thing is, you know, the nuts and bolts of it is, we know from the K1 and the K1 Speedy and K1 Max that the first releases weren't too great. So I've learned from history, never be the buyer that pre-orders, because you're always going to deal with the dramas, the firmware delays, and any little itchy little problems that have been, haven't been debugged yet from a first release. That said, I was, well, surprisingly, somewhat proved wrong on that one, which is a surprise, although I didn't expect it to be, have major bad things go wrong with it, considering Creality did cop a big backlash from the original K1 and K1 Max release. That, they still have a little bit of a problem with community members, complaining about the lack of support. But that is what it is. They're working on it. I just wanted to say, hats off to Creality. Thank you, Creality. Creality sponsored this K1C to me. So, thank you for that. They do know that I give raw reviews and I'm brutally honest. So I'm not going to sugarcoat anything. I'm not one of these people that are going to turn around and find something nitty gritty that's to say it's bad just because of my opinion. If there's something bad with it, I'll just tell you. So what's the go? So as you can see, we've got a few things here. We've got the special FrickArt 3D printed Creality toolbox, which I did in a green and gold Australian colour with the black. We've got some prints there that we've punched out of the K1C. You can see at the front, I haven't even peeled the plastic off the side trims of the doors. That's how fresh this one is. Let's go into the comparison. So, sorry about the noise in the background, I've got some prints going on. But what is the K1C and what makes it so different? Well, we all know about the all-in-one nozzle system. Now, point of this upgrade is the C for carbon. Now, it prints carbon. We did some carbon printing, which we'll go into in a minute. I haven't had a clog yet, although that said, I would advise to, when you get your K1C, you start tweaking it around, be careful with your settings. I've got a tutorial going on with that, with Cura, Creality Print and Orca Slicer. When you're printing abrasive filaments, you've really got to be careful on your temperatures and your retraction settings, because that can then bind up in the extruder. So anyway, getting into it, the K1C. What's different about the K1C compared to the K1 Speedy and the K1 Max? Well, obviously the K1 Max is a bigger printer, 300 by 300. The K1 Speedy is the exact same size as the K1C. So initially we have the specs here in front of me. We've got the actual volume is 220 by 220 by 250. All series of the K series have got the 4.3 color inch touchscreen. The surprising thing is that the K1C comes in a little bit lighter than the K1 Speedy by about 400 grams. So I think they've trimmed things off a little bit. I think that's largely to do with the cable routing system. That has been improved. As you can see, when we pull the lid up from here, you can see that there's no longer a PDFE tube running across the top of the cable chain. And what that does now, because of the PDFE tube rigidity, now lifts the chain up nicely off the linear rails, which is a nice touch considering so many people complain about the K1 Speed and the K1 Max with the two cables that are running into the circuit board for the extrusion system and the extruder wires and the nozzle hot end. And obviously they've singled that out, ran the PDFE tube with the chain, and they've put a riser as well. So that's a really good touch. Good on you, Creality, for listening to the community on that one. Other than that, what have they changed? Well, the build plate is a big change. I have noticed that a lot of other people haven't mentioned, while I put this top lid aside, that, in fact, The Creality build plate, although they do supply a nice flex build plate, it does in fact have this little brush system on there, if you can see it in the camera. Apologies today, I can't zoom in on it. I'm doing this all on my own. Flying solo today, people. We have this little brush here, silicone brush, heat resistant silicone brush, which is a good thing because we all know that when it does its nozzle cleaning, basically it tends to wear on the back of our build plates, and we don't like that, so that's a good addition. Now, if you do want to buy a PEI flex plate that has the abrasive powder coated surface, or a PEI O-sheet, PEI, etc., with the diamond pattern or the carbon fiber, there is a file on printables. I'll link that in the description below, where you can actually peel this silicone plate off. You can print a back plate which goes on the rear Z axis for the Z bed movement, and attaches this silicone brush, cleaning brush, to that plate, and it's lifted a little bit by about 1.2 millimeters that it sits on the bracket. So when you buy a replacement plate for the 220 by 220 by 250 build plate, you can literally slide that in, and it slides directly under the silicone brush that then gets mounted to the Z-axis. I think that's a great idea. Shout out to the guy who put that on printables, who came with that design. I think that's an awesome design. Moving on from that one, the other thing they've changed is the bed itself. Obviously, we've got this front plate. Let's open the door so we can check it out. Now, obviously, this one's a bit stiff. She's brand spanking new. We've got a front plate, and that goes through and underneath, and that's going to increase the rigidity of the bed, so that basically we get less flex within the bed. We all know we've had big issues with the K1 series and the K1 Max. Everyone was complaining about the tolerances of the bed being way off. You know, even with root firmware, there's been plenty of videos out there on YouTube just discussing how they can improve the bed. There's been various, attempts at flipping the machine upside down, changing the spring variation on the belts that guide the bed on the Z-axis underneath, things from spacers to springs to bushes, all sorts of things. And some people say, why? It adjusts itself to compensate for the bed not being level, or it's bent, or it's not true. It does to a certain degree, but it's obviously within a certain millimeters. Now, that's not going to give you perfection, but let's be honest, I mean, even myself being an ex-mechanical engineering, working with intolerances and specializing in metal fabrication and manufacturing, the tolerances that it can then detect and compensate for, as a factory firmware is quite great. When you're talking about, the differences between 0.05 to 0.05, you're talking not even 0.01 tenth of a millimeter. And people see it on the screen and they see this bed going like that, it's not that bad. But that said, they have improved it on anyway. They've listened to the community, and they've tried to fix those issues. With doing that, what they've actually done on top, and not many people have mentioned this, is they've actually put a film. It's a textured magnetic plate. So instead of the plate being a smooth magnet on the actual build plate, it's actually a textured plate. Now, I don't know whether that's a good thing or not. I think it does help the wear resistance of sliding the build plate, off and on the magnetic bed, because obviously with these metal flexi build plates, we tend to put them in on an angle this way, and sometimes that can cut into the magnet, can scrape, things like that before it hits the end stops. I think they put that in there to prevent that. This machine arrived, I checked the hour usage for testing on it. It basically had, I think it was 12 minutes. So I don't know what they did with 12 minutes. I don't think it can do a benchy in 12 minutes, but maybe they did it on some ludicrous speed. That said, that is an improvement on the bed. It will show up some little scratches, but it obviously prevents the magnet on top of the frame of the bed from wearing and having to replace that long term. So that's a great thing. Another thing they've improved is the door. They still haven't made it so that it can open past, I would say, it's gone 100 degrees. Instead of a 90-degree angle, it's gone from true 90 to 90, probably an extra 10, maybe 8 degrees past that 90-degree bend. It would be nice to see if they could actually bring that door out on actually a different hinge. but obviously we're aware of that with the K series and the Speedy and Max. We can print a door 270-degree hinge for that. It is another thing that we have to do to modify it so that obviously we don't push the door like that and snap it off its hinges, obviously, but that is what it is. The other thing they've done is they've increased the rigidity of the door, and they've put this nice rubber seal on the inside of the door, and that's a good addition because what it does is the door on the K1 Speedy and the K1 Max, well, it did tend to have some vibration, and on my K1 Max especially, I do a lot of big volume parts. It's running for a long period of time, and I found that the glass door did seem to vibrate somewhat, so I actually applied some rubber weather stripping myself, exactly where they've done it on the K1C, which is quite funny. So that's a good addition as well. They've also changed the actual mounting position at the bottom of the hinge, down the bottom there at the front of the door, and that's to prevent the hinge from rattling as well and having less play. So that's a good thing too. The difference also as well is with the K1C, it does automatically include the AI smart camera monitoring. Now, how effective that is, that's, well, up to, you know, conclusion and conversation based on the community and what they think about that. But the K1 series Speedy, I think it is, let's just check the stats. I'm pretty sure it doesn't come with that. Basically, the K1 Speedy comes with an optional camera, which is extra on top of the factory price. And obviously also you don't get the LiDAR. Now, another thing as well to bring up is with the K1C, you don't get the LiDAR as well. Now, some people think LiDAR, don't care. Other people think it's a great option. LiDAR has its pros and cons. It's not perfect. You know, some people have speculated that it's not even a real LiDAR. I'm not really sure about that. I haven't looked into that. I'm not a laser or, you know, lens expert by any means. But, you know, if it can detect the layer line width and calibrate before it starts and do that appropriately, I think that's a good thing. If it's not really changing much, well, it's, you know, it's neither here or there. But that said, like I said, the original K1 Speedy, if you're humming and hawing between the K1 Speedy and the K1C, just remember that the K1 Speedy, the camera, I think it's a 720p, tucked up in the left-hand side top corner there, is an optional add-on, so you will have to pay extra for that. And as well as, whereas the K1C and the K1 Speedy don't have the LiDAR on it either. So the LiDAR sensor is also an add-on, but if you do get the K1C, they include the AI camera. A few different options there. K1 Speedy, you get no camera, it's optional, you have to pay extra for it, no LiDAR. K1C, you get the camera, no LiDAR, you have to pay extra for that. So you're not having to pay for two extra things if you do want a LiDAR. The K1 Max, on the other hand, comes with now the version, I think they've had four iterations of the K1 through the different extruders and hot ends and so forth. You do get the AI camera, and I'm pretty sure you also get the LiDAR. Yes, you do. So the newer versions also come factory with the LiDAR, so there's no add-on extra at all. So that said, now if you're wondering, should I go the K1 Max or the K1C? Well, they can both print carbon fiber, and they both can print nylons and, you know, lots of different exotic materials. Now, the Creality has turned around and stated that obviously this has an all-new nozzle, straight through nozzle, you know, proprietary nozzle, which is, you know, very similar to a lot of other people that like Bamboo Labs and Flash Forge and a few other places that have proprietary nozzles. I'm not sure whether they copied that or came up with their own idea on that one. Look, we're in an industry where I think a lot of manufacturers, you know, copy each other, and everyone seems to carry on about it. To be perfectly honest, if we didn't have companies innovating with these new ideas, then the industry wouldn't evolve. It's no different than car manufacturing. Like a company, Toyota brings out a hybrid, and the next thing you know, Ford's bringing out a hybrid. You know, it's just how it is. You know, evolution. One company brings out one thing, another company goes, "Oh, that's a good idea. Let's do that in our iteration." So, you know, that's that. Without going too far ahead of myself here, the nozzle itself, like I said, I haven't had a jam up yet, although I do think it's got a lot to do with your retraction settings and how hot your material is. I printed this piece here out of carbon fiber PLA, Now, it's on the G-code that comes with the printer. Honestly, I don't think it's that great. If I had been able to slice that code myself and created that G-code from an STL, I do think that that file would look a lot better. It is a test piece that comes factory, although it is called the Delta Filament Side Mount Spool Mount. So basically it clips on the side there like so, and that gives you the addition. The thing is, I question this is, everyone, well, as far as I know, 90% of the community is, well, I'd say 90% because I've only seen maybe one person or heard of one person saying they like a back rear mounted spool system on their Core XY printer. I don't know why they don't just include this already mounted. I mean, I think we're past the days of, you know, oh, we're buying a printer, let's print all the parts that we need. Yeah, that's great. We want to print the parts to make it our own and customize it, but don't you think you should probably just include the parts already mounted the way people want them done? I think so. I think that's one thing they can do. The other thing I think is a bit of it's a little thing that no one talks about, and that is companies including G-code files within the printer and the USBs that come with these printers. I don't know why they just don't have them as an STL. I mean, if they're that proprietary, to me, I mean, that's not a type of, it's a good looking design, but whoever programmed that G-code or whoever programmed that profile for that STL to then become a G-code to be printed on this printer, I'm not personally attacking you, but that is very, look, I'm just going to say it, as an Aussie, that's piss poor quality. I'm just going to say that is piss poor quality. Now, I reduced the speed printing this from 100% to 50% because I wanted to achieve a better print with the carbon fiber PLA. Now, if I had had the STL file for this Delta side-mounted spool holder, then I would have been able to probably slow down the top surface layer speed and look at a few other things like ironing and flow rate and such, and that would have given that a way better finish. I don't know why they didn't do that before they sliced it into a G-code and basically mass produced the USB files to load them on there. I don't know why. You know, they think that they say it's a test piece, but to me, I think it's a great design. It's just, I just think that it could have been sliced, you know, as a better G-code. So anyway, that's that. I am working on a system to actually reverse G-codes back to STLs. So that's coming in a few months' time. It's not easy to do. There's not really anyone that does it. I think it's a really good option, and anyone else out there that's a software or programmer, I think they should really look into G-code reverse engineering software that can reverse a G-code back to an STL. Now, I'm not saying, you know, why hasn't anyone done it because of copyright. I think it's just a good idea because sometimes when you get a G-code, you know, people know that you can't revert the G-code back to the STL. There is one program out there that one gentleman's working on. I can't say who it is, but they're working on that. It does have a lot of restrictions in place. But I think that's something Creality should look at doing. Anyway, moving on from that, the other thing we've got here is we have a carbon filter on the back. That's something that's changed. It does have carbon inside the filter. I'll try and take it off for you, but there we go. If you can see that there. It's not really full of carbon. I don't know how effective that is. I mean, if it's exhausting ABS, you know, ASA, nylon, even PETG, any toxic filaments, you probably shouldn't be doing that inside. Probably should be doing that in a ventilated area anyway, or have an exhaust duct on it. Yeah, I don't know about that. It's good, but yeah, I don't know. I think if you wanted a carbon filter to filter out for PLA or carbon fiber, I don't understand how that much filament, if you shine the light through that, I don't know how that shows up, but yeah. But anyway, that's that. One of the other things they've done, I will bring up, is the UI design and the power. So one of the things that not many people know about is Creality has been working on an AMS system for quite some while. One thing that's big about the AMS system that I bring up about the K2 is that they did mention, the CEO mentioned that they were bringing out an AMS system. Now, the images have been leaked on Reddit. I will bring that image up here. Whether or not it looks like that, I'm not exactly sure, but that is apparently the leaked image on Reddit called the K2. Now, the CEO did mention the fact that it would be compatible with the new system printers coming out, and that shortly after they would make an iteration of it being usable and being accessible on the previous K1 series. Now, the thing that gets me is I've done a bit of research here, and both the K1 Speedy and the K1C only have a 350 watt power supply. Now, why is that important? Well, the K1 Max has a 1000 watt power supply. Now, I know this because I've researched the statistics, and it basically says it there in black and blue. So you've got a 750 watt power difference from the K1 Max to the Speedy and the C. Now, why is that important? Well, if you're going to be running an AMS system that draws a lot of power by purging and filament extrusion and multiple extruders going at once and all this sort of stuff, you need more wattage, you need more power. So I don't know what they're going to do about that. I don't know what the power output is of the AMS system that they're releasing. I'm not sure whether it's going to be released on the 9th of their anniversary week in 3 to 4 days time from filming this video. We'll have to wait and see to find out. I think it'll make a lot of people, especially with the older K1 Speedies, a bit frustrated and angry maybe if it's not supported because of the 350 watt power supply issue. Let's hope not, because I don't want that to be an issue. I think Creality should be aware of that, but that's that. Apples and apples, we don't really know. What's in the box? You get some glue, you get some little tools, you get some grease for the linear rails, which I think's good. You get the standard USB stick, and you get the manual, and you get some hyper. What do we got? We've got some hyper wide PLA. Yeah, you know, if at least it comes on a spool. Back in the old days, it just came as a bit of plastic, which I think is good because it doesn't get caught up. You do get your little cutters, which I still find to this day that I've poked myself on these little bad boys. They are great though. I've got about 10 pairs of these, so that's awesome. What else can I say about the K1C? It does have the all-extrusive hot nozzle in it, instead of having the PTFE tube that goes in from the filament feeder from the extruder and then into the heat block via the actual heat exchange and then into the nozzle. So now it's one complete heat break, so that's a good thing. I would advise though, if you do get a blockage and take it out, that you do the little trick that I've learned many years ago, and that is to get yourself some thermal paste that can withstand temperatures, you know, around 250 to 300 degrees. There are some on the market. You can't use PC thermal paste, they all use on CPUs. But there are some thermal pastes out there, especially from JCar if you're in Australia, and Amazon, you can find them as well. I can't remember off the top of my head what they're called, but basically what that does is it just prevents the all-inclusive nozzle from binding up into the heat sink and having problems taking that out. So do yourself a favor, make sure that you do that. It acts as, even if it does dry out a little bit, it still acts as a barrier between the heat sink binding to the all-in-one nozzle. So that's a good thing as well. The extruder, they haven't really changed that a lot. It's the same motor, everything else. The hot end's the same, the ceramic 60 watt heater. The big thing that has been changed obviously is the pulleys at the back. We've now gone to a smaller 21 tooth pulley, and that's been changed in the G-code editing for the software for the printing speeds. They, in the K1 Speedy and the K1 Max, had the larger 40 something pulley, I think, and that was causing a lot of VFA ringing issues, which is still trying to be sorted out today. There is a positive though, because a lot of companies are now selling the 21 tooth gearing system with the belts supplied online, so you can check them out at various different websites and locations. Just look up the 21 tooth belt system for the K1 Speedy and K1 Max, and you'll find plenty of them on there. I think most companies also include the G-code edit that you have to do, and that'll help get rid of a lot of your ringing as well. The good other thing about it is that, you'll see in a minute while I turned it off, is that with the K1 Max and the K1 Speedy iteration and Creality listening to their community and finally releasing full root access for Clipper, and that's a big thing nowadays. Everyone's gone to Clipper because of the advantages of it. Is the K1, there's the Creality have now started to realise that we don't want closed loop software or firmware, and so they've now started to release official firmware for full root access for Clipper, so you can send your prints remotely via your desktop, via your phone. You can run Fluid or Mainsail, Octoprint through Moonraker, and that's a good thing as well. That gives us a remote access. We can customize a lot of things. We can increase the contrast, brightness of the lighting system inside our printers, and we can bed mesh a lot of different things. We can put camp in, which levels our bed for only the print that we need to do. And there's so many other things that I can't go into detail. I'll be here all day, as I'm already rambling on as it is. So what do I think about the K1C? Should you buy it or shouldn't you buy it? Well, I'm going to turn it on because there's something really cool. As you've seen in the intro, I don't know if you can see it, but when this lights up, I root accessed, shout out to Gillows on GitHub. He's one of the guys who does a lot of custom firmware for Creality printers, including the CR10SE, which is right behind the camera that's filming right now, as well as the K1 Max and the Ender 3 KE, and now the K1C. And you'll see as it's loading, it has this nice fancy picture that comes up on the screen, and you can put custom firmware on the load screen and all sorts of stuff. So that's really cool. Shout out to Gillows on GitHub. Check out the firmware. There's nothing wrong with doing the Creality official flash firmware, but Gillows on GitHub does a fantastic job of just taking that little extra step further. And the great thing is that it's not a one-off thing. It automatically updates itself as well, so you can set that system up, and there's quite a few videos out there on how to do that. If you do want to see a video on how to do that, comment below. I can do my own version for you. Getting back to the K1C, if you're in the market to buy a K1C or a K1 Speedy or a K1 Max, although the K1 Max is around $400 more, and you like the build volume, the size, me personally, I love larger build volume printers because I do a lot of prints that are larger models, prototype parts for motorcycles, workshop tool storage, and things for the general household and garage and auto industry. But that said, the smaller build volume being enclosed is great. You can also, if you do have a Speedy or K1 Max, you can buy the all-in-one hot end ceramic heating system, so you can convert that if you like. Although I have printed carbon fiber, PLA and carbon fiber, nylon and PC in my K1 Max, just by having a hardened steel nozzle and hot end, and I haven't had a lot of dramas with it. Yeah, so I do think it's a good thing though. Like I said, if you do go for the K1C, one thing I've missed, I forgot to mention, the difference in the K1C versus the K1 Speedy. So if you're humming and hawing between the K1 Speedy and the K1C, is that the K1C has a couple of little different modes. Obviously, it's specifically designed to print PLA carbon fiber, PA carbon fiber, and PET-C carbon fiber. It can also do PA6, PA12, all that sort of stuff, nylon, as can the other printers as well. The other little things that it can do is it has a sleep mode option, which is pretty cool. So, you know, you don't leave your K1's other Speedy or Max on and, you know, it's just running all night after a print. It'll just go to sleep for you. So that's a cool little feature. They all have the same acceleration and everything else. So, you know, if you're in the market to get a K1C or a K1 Speedy, which one would I recommend? Look, to be honest, I'd probably say the K1C. Mainly because, look, if you can afford it, get the K1C. I think, you know, for that marginal extra amount of money, you know, having these improvements and not having to buy the add-ons, fix the chain routing cable, having the extra insulation on the door, the smaller 21 tooth gearing that's already been set and done. So there is less ringing, which is ripples. Basically, for those that don't know what ringing is, ripples in their print, which is, you know, for VFA tuning. And obviously with root access now, you can use slices like Cura and Orca and all those sort of things. So that's really great too. So if you're in the market to get a Creality Core XY printer, and you're thinking Speedy, you're thinking max, you're thinking C. If I was you and you didn't mind having a slightly smaller build volume than the K1 Max, and you could handle a 220 by 220 by 250, and you wanted to get yourself a printer, I would highly recommend it. As you can see, I just did this earlier and that came out fantastic. That was using Creality's PLA Plus. Pretty happy with that. So if you are in the market to get one, do you get a K1C? I would say yes. I'm not sure about the AMS system being able to be utilised on the 350 watt power supply. That's yet to be confirmed. Not many people have brought up that fact. But that said, keep in mind though guys that CoPrint also will be launching very, very soon. Hopefully July, around July. Yet to be confirmed, but as soon as I know, I will let that know, you guys know. And why is that important? Well, because CoPrint will be compatible with not only all Creality printers, but 95% of all the printers around the world from every single brand. So look out, color system, because AMSs are great, and these box feeders are awesome. But when you've got a color system that can feed up to 24 filaments and up to 95 machines from every company around the world from the last 10 years, to me, that's a game changer. So thank you to Creality for sending me this product. Like I said, you know, I tried to pick some faults on this. There were a couple little things, nothing major. I am going to be doing a big design on this to celebrate and to basically give back to the community, to show you what you can do with your printer. I'm going to make this printer a 3D printer. That's right. What? Yep, I'm going to make it a 3D printer. So I'm going to be working on that. By the time this video drops, I'll already be halfway through that. And when I get back to it, halfway through the week of the Creality 9th or 10th anniversary on the 9th of April, I will drop the Can't Say K1C, and I hope you enjoy that video too. Alright guys, if you can like and subscribe the video, that would be awesome. I do appreciate your feedback. I try my hardest to get back to you, everyone. Honestly, you know, I message at least 5 people a day who comment and send me messages via YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. I do appreciate the support. Like I said, you know, we're not all IT guys. Some of us are beginners. We are here to learn. Some of us are experts and some of us aren't. But that's okay, because it's all about just having fun and printing and enjoying what you do. Whether it's a toy, whether it's a game, whether it's serious, whether it's a prototype, whether it's industry design, it doesn't matter. We all just want to have fun, and we all want a hobby to do that we enjoy. So like and subscribe if you're happy with it. I am launching some big stuff in the next few weeks. I've got a new brand logo coming. We're launching Patreon. I've got merch coming. I've got special exclusive discounts from companies that no one else has. I've got a new printer that is a first of its kind, coming from a new, well, not a new company, but another company that's going to be coming in the next week or two, and I'm going to be one of the first to review it. So keep an eye out for that one. Thank you again to Creality 3D, and a shout out to Ray at Creality over there for sending this K1C to me. That's all I can say about that. If you've got any questions, comment below. I will try my best to get back to you. Look guys, I just want to say thank you from the bottom of the heart for everyone who subscribes. And yeah, I'm Chris. I hope you enjoyed this review. I'll see you on the next one.